Bruce.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's great to see you in the chair. And I'm pleased to add my voice to the third reading on the School Board's Collective Bargaining Amendment Act, Bill 92. And first things first, Speaker, I want to commend my colleague from Whitby, Oshawa. I really admired the tenacity in which he applied his thorough research and thoughtful amendments to this bill to make it better on behalf of students, teachers, and parents in Ontario. And coming from a family that has 3 teachers in my immediate family, education is very important to me, as it is to everyone throughout the province. And I want to start by saying that there are some very good components of this legislation that will improve how collective bargaining for educators is carried out in Ontario. And it's so important to do everything we can to keep teachers and students in the classrooms. But when I say that, I have to give a shout out and tell the teachers in Niagara that I appreciate receiving their notes. I feel for them being locked out of their classrooms, but we were trying to do our best from an opposition perspective to minimize that type of negative impact that I was hearing about in the emails I've been receiving from teachers in the Niagara area. But I must say, from an opposition perspective, and with regard specifically to Bill 92, we're proud to give support and recognize the importance of giving more flexibility to employers and employees by allowing them to extend their collective agreements by 2, 3, 4, even 5 years. And when an agreement is working, it is common sense to make it easy as possible to renew a deal and keep Ontario's next generation learning. It's all about keeping those students in the classroom. And it is also important to recognize the importance of transparency for taxpayers. And this bill has a component that requires trustee associations to be added to the Sunshine List. And finally, part of this legislation deals with work stoppages, which we all recognize is an absolute worst-case scenario. And as I mentioned before, I thank the teachers that have been reaching out and sharing their thoughts as they adjust and deal with their particular situation in the Niagara area. It can be a very stressful time, not only for the teacher and the student, but for the parent as well. First, they have to accept that their child's education will be put on hold due to a dispute beyond their control. But on top of that, they need to find supervision and hopefully something that will provide educational value for their children during what should normally be school hours. But most importantly, it is stressful for students who have learning interrupted in the middle of a term when reinforcing new concepts is critical to their success. So we're very pleased with the measures in Bill 92 that give parents additional time to prepare for school closures due to labour disputes. And additional time to prepare can mean more time to ensure that a child will be minimally impacted by the work stoppage and perhaps can continue to do activities of educational value during that particular stoppage. But problems still remain, Speaker. I have to tell you, I couldn't help but notice while we were in committee on Monday afternoon a disturbing trend with this government. Again, they're rushing through legislation and then propose a barrage of amendments to the bill at the committee level to fix their mistakes. As I mentioned, I was reminded of what the government did almost a year ago with regards to trying to clean up the mess they made with Bill 172. Amendment after amendment was introduced to Bill 172 because the government knew they got their initial piece of legislation wrong, and they took up committee efforts to get it right. And it just shows how disorganized and out of sync this particular government of the day is. And then again, on Monday, during committee, you know, Monday was the first day of spring, but it felt more like Groundhog Day, Speaker, because yet again, we saw this same government using a similar tactic for Bill 151, Waste-Free Ontario Act. And in this particular case, Bill 92 was rolling up, and the intent of Bill 92 is to roll up more power into the hands of one person, the Minister of Education. And it reminded me of Bill 151, that where it too has put too much control into the minister's hands, and we tried to put a stop to it. Over and over, Speaker, this government seems to roll power into the hands of people that we may not trust, and this is a troubling pattern. And so I want to get back to Bill 92 because we also introduced amendments that would make the bill better, but unfortunately this government voted every single one of them down, and it was shameful. Thank you very much.